Good afternoon, everyone. It is a good day for budget and finance this afternoon. We have a special meeting to meet our second meeting in the month of September. Thank you for everybody who put in such hard work for the nomination comprehensive budget. It is our first meeting of September because we had a special council meeting last week and then ESG for the budget. So just want to share my appreciation for the budget and finance committee and also the office of management and budget. Thank you for all of the departments and divisions for their contributions during the budget. Today is September 11th, 2023, and it's 2:08. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Ms. Nelson, can you do a roll call vote for attendance? For the record, we have Delegate Amber Knezzer-Crowdy who is excused, and then also Delegate Lamardo Azar is excused until he arrives.
Okay, Madam Chair. Roll call for the Budget and Finance Committee of the National Council, special meeting September 11, 2023. Honorable Sean D. Parrish.
Present.
Thank you. Honorable Sean D. Parrish is present. Honorable Carl Slater.
Present.
Thank you. Honorable Carl Slater is present. Honorable Seth Damon.
Present.
Thank you. Honorable Seth Damon is present. Honorable Alec Party is excused. Honorable Norman Indigay. And here, Honorable Norman Indigay is present. And Honorable Lamardo Azar is excused.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. Colleagues, to get today's meeting started, do we have a volunteer for the invocation?
Volunteer.
Delegate Carl Slater volunteers today.
The holy people, they receive today with war and bloodshed, cease and great peace will embrace the whole world, one nation, not to every nation, and mankind will not get to war. May all who live on the earth come to realize that we're not come to being to hate, to destroy, but we're come to being to praise, to deliver, to love, compassion of God and holy people. Bless the leaders of all nations with the power of compassion. Be with the families and the victims of 9/11 today, and all the first responders and police officers and all of those who keep us safe, protect us from the evils of this world, and help guide us in the righteous path that will protect us and the people. We pray for the leaders of the Navajo Nation, our Speaker Curley, our President Migran, our Vice President Montoya, and our Chief Justice Joanne Jane, as they lead us into this new fiscal year. Protect the interests of the nation, advance our sovereignty, and develop our economy so that we are self-determined, self-ruling nation that will bring the goodness of our people's values into this world and be a light into the world. Bless the leaders of each of the committees, Chair Parrish, Chair Jesus, Chair Eugenia Charles Newton, and Chair Vince James, as they each advance the interests of their committees and their colleagues, strengthen their minds and their bodies, and allow them to fulfill and deliver the best interests of our people, and remind each of us to have compassion, understanding, and love for one another as we advance our work on behalf of our people. Thank you very much. God, Adonai Hashem.
Yeah, thank you, Shana, Vice Chair Charles Slater, for your beautiful prayer today. We'll go on to item number 2, which is recognized as guest and visiting officials. Today we have the Director of Criminal Investigations, Mr. Mike Henderson, with us.
Thank you. Good morning. Yeah.
Okay, and we also have Mr. Robert Billy here with us. Ed, and good afternoon. And then could you introduce yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, Shay, recently Billion Chef, Toy Danish Slow Collection Machine, with the addition of Shay. I am currently the PSAP supervisor for the Navajo Police Department, but I'm the appointed in the MIT way. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. Welcome. We're going to move on to item 3 to review and adopt today's agenda. Ms. Hawkeye, can you read the proposed agenda into the record?
Yes.
This is the proposed agenda of the Budget and Finance Committee of the Navigation Council, September 11, 2023, starts at 2 p.m. Presiding is Shandi Parish Chairperson, Carl R. Slater, Vice Chairperson, for the Budget and Finance Committee, competition and law nomination. I need to order the roll call meeting invocation to recognize guests and listing official 3, review and adopt the agenda, 4, review and adopt the journal. 5, receive reports, A, recap of the FY 24 comprehensive budget, presenters Dominic Bial, Director OLP. B is update, resolution number CS 4222. COA number 1, Division of Public Safety Administration, Tribal Access Program, National Crime Information Center Database, MMIW, presented Sean Silversmith, the Chief of Police, Navajo Police Department. C, status of unmet needs, allocations, other committed funds not utilized, presented Sean McCabe, Bureau Controller OOC. Daily Rob Willie, County Manager for OOC, to present that. 6, old business 9, 7, new business A, legislation number 0139-23, B, legislation number 0203-23. C, legislation variance 0209-23. B, scheduling a strategic session. Date, late, time, late. Date, closing the session, written announcements, adjournment from this meeting is September 19, 2023.
Thank you, Ms. Knockhead. Committee members, do we have a motion to adopt today's agenda? Delegate beginning motions. Do we have a second? Speaker Seth Damon, seconds the motion. Colleagues, do we have any amendments or changes to the agenda today?
Sure.
Vice Chair Slater?
Thank you. I'd like to motion to amend the agenda. I would like to defer report 5A to the next Budget and Finance Committee meeting. And defer legislation 209-23 to the next Budget and Finance Committee meeting. And then I guess present to ask the committee if we want to keep D or we want to wait until the other 2 colleagues are available to identify that date under 60-70.
Committee members, there's a motion on the floor, but there's a question on item number 570. Delegate Begay,
Delete A on 5A.
7D.
Defer to next meeting, right?
Defer the questions are deferred to the next meeting. Is it? Both committee members concur?
To defer it, okay, and in my motion. I will be deferring item 7D to the next Budget and Finance Committee.
I'll second, but requesting the motion party also defer 5C.
5C. Okay.
And very. Okay, never mind. A second
Second,
without my question. And
okay,
then also requesting motion party to move legislation before receiving a vote.
I'll concur with that request for modification. Chair, can I ask a question?
Vice Chair Slater?
Thank you.
Question to yourself.
On the question.
So seat back on. Is that what it is?
Okay,
There's no rule that says you can't do that. Chair, could you ask Mr. Willie if he thinks it'd be better if interim controller McCabe was present, and that could inform whether we should maintain this report now or defer to the next meeting.
thank you, Vice Chair Slater. The questions to the motion on the floor. Mr. Robert Willie, what is your advisement to the committee on the report labeled status of unmet need allocation and other committed funds not utilized? Mr. Willie?
Thank you, Madam Chair. The report that we gathered together was kind of thrown together this morning. It doesn't have all the funds not utilized portion of it. It just has the general fund one that I was able to identify really quickly. I don't have the status and the permanent ones. So if you want more detail, I guess we could move to the next budget and finance, but I could present what I have today. It was really up to the committee.
Thank you, Mr. Willie. I think it's also beneficial too for Delegate Azar and Delegate Crotty to also hear the information too. So thank you for your advice. Vice Chair Slater?
Chair, I'd like to modify my motion to also defer 5C, the report from Mr. Willis / Mr. McDade to the next budget finance committee meeting.
Okay, great. Second party, you prefer? Okay, committee members, we have a motion on the floor to defer 5A, 5C. And also 7C and 7D to the next budget and finance committee meeting. We do have a second to the motion on the floor. Do we have any further questions, Delegate McGee? Questions? Ms. Nelson, can you do a roll call vote on the amendment onto the agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair, we'll call on amendment number 1. Alderman Gay, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you, Alderman Gay votes green. Almost David, how do you vote?
I will agree.
Thank you, almost David votes green. Almost Slater, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you, almost Slater votes green, Madam Chair. We have 3 members voting in the affirmative or opposing, and 2 members excused. Madam Chair, not voting, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson, and committee members. With that, the motion carries. Amendment 1 passes. Ms. Do we have further questions or comments on the main motion? Hearing none, sure.
I'd like to, motion to do a second amendment, I'm sure.
Okay, Speaker David, what is your amendment 2?
Yeah, amendment two is, motion to, do a consent agenda on legislation number 0139-23 and legislation number 0203-23.
Thank you, Speaker David. Do you have a second to the motion?
I'll second.
Vice Chair Slater seconds the motion. Colleagues, amendment 2 is for consent agenda on the 2 legislation that I've listed. Do you have any questions? Question? Hearing none, Ms. Nelson, can you do a roll call vote on amendment 2?
Yes. Madam Chair, we'll call vote on amendment number 2. Alderman Gay, how do you vote?
Red.
Thank you, Alderman Gay votes red. Almost David, how do you vote?
Vote green.
Thank you, almost David votes green. Almost Slater, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you, almost Slater votes green. Madam Chair, we have 2 members voting in the affirmative, 1 opposing, 2 members excused. Madam Chair, not voting, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. With that, colleagues, the amendment 2 carries. Do we have any further questions or comments on adopting today's agenda? Hearing none, Ms. Naka, can you read the amendment?
The amendment 1 is to defer reports 5A and 5C to the next meeting, and then also to refer legislation number C 209-23 and then item number D70 to the next meeting. And then the consent agenda for the 2 legislations that are on the agenda.
And you got the legislation report, the report.
That's legislation number 0139-23.
That one,
Or 139-23 and then 203-23 are on the consent agenda, correct?
Yeah, that will be.
Yeah, and 209 is referred to the next meeting.
all right, thank you, Ms. Nakai, for the second reading of the agenda. Ms. Nelson, can you do a follow on the amendments and the motion?
Yes, Madam Chair, we'll call vote on the main motion. Alderman Gay, how do you vote?
Just accepting the second amendment, then.
The whole agenda.
Green.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Gay votes green. Almost David, how do you vote?
Vote green.
Thank you. Almost David votes green. Almost Slater, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you. Almost Slater votes green. Madam Chair, we have 3 members voting in the affirmative or opposing. 2 members excused. Madam Chair, not voting, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. Colleagues, with that, today's agenda, we're going to go to item 4, which is review and adopt journals. We have none. We're going to go to new item 5, which is legislation. So that brings us to the consent agenda. Colleagues, we have 7A consent agenda. Ms. Nafe, can you read the titles into the record?
Yes. 7A is legislation number 0139-3 and act relating to participation in human services on order budget and finance committee seven and that will be possible. Repealing 9 section 2C of the Marriage Act of 2005 to Union County. Recognize all marriages within the nomination, extending any other provisions in probably line of the nomination code related to marriage within the nomination sponsoring separate agreement and assuming council delegates. Legislation number 023-23 and act relating to law and order, budget and finance and everything to committees and the nomination council. Amending the nomination procurement act section 301 371 and amending the nomination business opportunity act 5 and 6 201 through 415 sponsors are setting the information being placed.
Thank you, Ms. Maffei. With that, we have that agenda before the committee. That will, and I just wanted to update Mr. Bial because Mr. Bial is with us. Mr. Bial, the committee amended today's agenda to defer the recap of the FY 2024 comprehensive budget to the next budget and finance meeting. So we deferred your report today and also deferred Mr. Willie and Mr. McCabe's report as well. Just want to update you. And the committee right now, what we're doing is we have the consent agenda for the legislation for us. So that's going to go before reports. And after the legislation, we're going to go to the report from the Division of Public Safety. So I just wanted to give you an update, Mr. Bial.
Thank you.
And Mr. Mitchell too. Thank you for coming over to the budget and committee, Mr. Mitchell. Okay,
Motion to this one.
yeah.
Madam Chair, we have Sean McCabe raising his hand.
Okay, Mr. McCabe.
Good afternoon, Budget Finance Committee, Madam Chair. And I just wanted to apologize for not being there in person. I emailed you all and informed you of a family matter I had to care for my mom who got COVID. So I apologize and we'll be ready for the next meeting. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
Thank you, Mr. McCabe, and we are, you're in our thoughts and your families are in our prayers. Thank you, Mr. McCabe. With that, colleagues, we have a consent agenda for us. Vice Chair Slater motions. We have a second to the motion for the consent agenda.
Motion? Oh, it's a second.
Speaker Damon seconds the motion for the consent agenda. Do you have any questions or comments on the agenda? Oh, sorry. Okay. Ms. Nelson, could you roll call vote on the consent agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair, will call vote on the consent agenda. I will learn and stay and vote.
Right. To discuss it. Removed it then.
Yes, okay. Learn and stay was red. Almost a Damon, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Thank you. Almost a Damon votes green. I will call Slater, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you. On the call Slater votes green. Madam Chair, we have 2 members voting in the affirmative, 1 opposing. Madam Chair not voting. 2 members excused. Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. Committee members, the consent agenda carries. We are going to receive reports. Again, for those that are just joining us, the only report the Budget and Finance Committee will be hearing today is the update on CS 4222 COA number 1 from the Division of Public Safety. And to update everyone again, we have no old business and we've completed our new business with deferments to the next Budget and Finance Committee. So now we're going to go to our presentation from the Division of Public Safety. I see that we have the Executive Director of Public Safety, also Mr. Mike Henderson. Welcome up to the presenters. Happens to all our chairs. Yeah, you can grab one. Yeah. Pull up a chair.
giving me all the chairs.
To give you the sticky to get home.
I hope not. Just kidding.
Okay, well, welcome to the Budget and Finance Committee. Again, thank you for your time this afternoon, and I'm gonna hand over the time to the Division Director of Public Safety.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Vice Chair and members of Budget and Finance. We appreciate the time to make the presentation. I've asked Rosita Billy here, as well as Director Michael Henderson from Criminal Investigations to assist us in presenting the report that you requested. And so I will turn it back to you and allow the my staff to present the information.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson, and for the record, it's Michael Anderson from the Division of Government.
Anderson,
Anderson.
Henderson, Anderson.
Okay.
I carry his cards around when somebody's mad. I give him his card.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Henderson, however, the time's yours.
Thank you, Chairperson, Vice Chair, members of the Budget and Finance Committee, and colleagues, Mr. Anderson, Rosita, members of the audience, and those that are listening. Thank you for this opportunity. The updates from criminal investigation. Criminal investigation is one of the departments under the Division of Public Safety. So under criminal investigation, we have back in April 28th, 2023, I issued a special order to the Department of Criminal Investigation regarding MMIP investigations. And in that special order, the policy is that in DCI, criminal investigation, is to ensure open and unsolved MMIP investigations, to have information which can be used to trace individuals' identity, living and deceased, information such as the biometric records and the medical records, dental records, etc. And that these identifying information be entered into the missing person database, which is the NCIC, also the NAMUS, the CODIS, and other databases to be utilized across, not only on the Navajo Nation, but across the states, across the United States. And one of the criteria in that for these MMIP investigations is that the way to input all this information, identifying information into these databases, including NCIC, the National Crime Information Center, is through the Tribal Access Program. The Tribal Access Program provides us from the U.S. Department of Justice to have access and interact with the FBI portals, and to include NCIC. NCIC, the National Crime Information Center, has a menu within itself for the input of these kinds of information for missing persons, to include those that are missing from the Navajo Nation. So since then, I have from criminal investigations, 49 personnel from criminal investigation that have access, that have gone through the tests and to obtain the links and to have access to this tribal access program, to input and to extract information, to input information into NCIC, specifically for others, to include missing persons information here from the Navajo Nation. Now, from criminal investigation, there is a difference on the information that we input or the individuals that we follow up with information we input into missing persons through NCIC, through this tribal access program. These 49 individuals from criminal investigation do these all across the Navajo Nation in all the 7 districts. And what has been happening is that, or the main difference between the police department and criminal investigation is that these missing persons that come to criminal investigation that are being entered into NCIC through criminal investigation department are those that have individuals where they've gone missing under suspicious circumstances. And meaning that at the time of their disappearance, they disappeared under some kind of suspicion of either they didn't leave on their own will, basically. So those kinds of investigations, those kinds of people that are missing from the Navajo Nation coming to criminal investigation, those cases are the ones that criminal investigation are entering all these personal identifiers into NCIC through the missing person portals to include those that are through the NAMUS program and other programs, the CODIS program, where we input these identifiers so that in the event that unidentified remains are found throughout the Navajo Nation or throughout New Mexico, Arizona, or Utah, or any of the United States, or then they would be able to be these identifying information that criminal investigation inputs into NCIC missing persons and NAMUS and CODIS can be tracked through these portals by other state agencies, other tribal agencies, other county agencies, other federal agencies, wherever these remains may be found. So that's in a nutshell how we have addressed this condition of preservation that's been put on the Navajo Division of Public Safety. So this is I'm just reporting the ones that criminal investigation has been engaged in. And I know that the Navajo Police Department has their own initiatives and they have their own procedures and policies that they put in place in complying for DPS to comply with this condition of appropriation. So if there's any questions, I can entertain those questions. That is my report for now, and I'll turn the time over to Rosita here to report her updates on behalf of the Navajo Police Department. I can't.
Thank you, Director, for his report. Police Department.
I know Mr. Damon wanted to leave, so. That right with me. I know when I was introducing myself, Mr. Damon was all like, what's a PSAP? So it's Public Safety Answering Service. Supervisors, so which means that I oversee pretty much the dispatchers' training, the dispatchers, their, you know, what they're doing behind the radio, how they conduct themselves and all that good stuff. So with the COA, we are in compliance with tax. We are in compliance with NCIC. We are working with the state of Utah. And you guys are probably wondering why Utah. So Utah can actually indicate, yes, we will recognize New Mexico, we will recognize Arizona, and we will recognize Utah. So that's the reason why we're under Utah. And they're also called the Bureau of Criminal Information. So we work with BCI with missing persons. We work with BCI with entering stolen vehicles, clearing weapons, and most of all, we really do work with the missing persons right now. So I did do this. I don't know if I was going to send this around and I can explain this to you guys. So we have 78 total missing people that are entered into NCIC, criminal information data of the database system, which indicates that when they run a name or a DOB within law enforcement and they show up as an individual that is missing through Navajo Nation, they'll contact us. They'll be like, hey, we made contact with this individual. And there are some set rules like Mr. Henderson, Henderson said, sorry. And they cannot, a missing person cannot be cleared unless a commissioned personnel or a police officer actually meets with them in person and indicating that they are cleared. So on the first page, you will notice you said the 78 personnel, and this is constantly updated every single day, weekends, and all that good stuff. So we do have as much as juveniles on here to the adult. Within using NCIC and NAMUS, we did retrieve a missing person that you guys may have seen, heard about is Christine. What's her last name? Christine from Belcom. Lester. She was located in Los Angeles. She is considered dealing with a homicide as a homicide victim. So she was retrieved by NAMUS, just by her DNA and all that good stuff. We did recently meet another lady by the name of Rosita Monroe. She was missing since 1999. It's so hard to understand that they found her body in Phoenix. She was under the SIDS program where these unknown Native Americans, our unknown Navajos, are buried in Phoenix. There is a big lot. There is a presentation that Mr. Harlan Cleveland does do a presentation on, and he can, if you guys do request for that, he can also inform you guys of that. The next one is a process. The reason why I'm showing you this is because it does indicate NCIC. All our dispatchers, 31 of them, have access to NCIC. So we do have a process. Once they call the police, they give us the information. We get as much information as is, go into the police dispatch, and we dispatch the officer. And then the responding officer goes and investigates. The preliminary investigation begins. Missing person is entered into NCIC by dispatch. So once they're entered into NCIC, notification does go up the chain of command to where we know from the patrol section all the way to the command section who is missing. And our team, we do have a missing person unit within PD. So when a person does go missing, we'll have resources, especially if it's an Amber Alert or a child, or an Amber Alert or a juvenile that run away. We will have available resources for that. And then the next one would be the PIO would notify social media, indicating that you guys will notice that the social media for Navajo Police, you will see missing photos on there indicating that they are entered into NCIC. And there's a number that they can contact. There's also, I forgot to mention on the missing person flyer on the bottom, there is a tip line. You can call that number if anybody knows any information on these individuals, and the email address as well as the tip line. Then the detectives will oversee the case from there. These are actually statistical stats, the reason why we are entering into NCIC. I know you guys like numbers. You guys want to see, like, how can I stand up for you guys if I don't have anything? So this is the information that is current as we speak. So they're broken down in districts in the back of how many missing people are in each district. And it's broken down into a graph indicating how many people are actually missing from those particular districts and how many male and how many female are missing. So that was broken down. And then in the back, you will see when we started our missing person unit in 2022, it indicated how many people were located, how many people were deceased, how many people were cleared, and then the same thing as 2023. So right now, we a lot of individuals indicated, a lot of tribes were saying, does Navajo Nation utilize NCIC? Yes, we do. Does Navajo Nation utilize NAMUS for Navajo Police Department? Yes, we do, and also criminal investigations. Any other resources that we can that can help us through in the time of finding out where these missing individuals are, we will use those resources to help. I know a lot of family members when they speak to the dispatchers, they indicate that they're cautious because they don't want their name into the national database. But that's the only way we will locate your loved one, is if the individuals are going through NCIC. But though we do have an active agreement with Tribal Access Program through Department of Justice, and then we do have an active agreement with NCIC with BCI Utah. So I don't know if you have any questions. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much for your report. Division Director Anderson, does that conclude your report today?
Yes, you just find that we are in compliance of the field A, and we remain available to answer any further questions here or in the future as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. And for the record, I'll just read the condition of appropriation that was a part of the budget. It says the Department of Public Safety Administration shall research and determine the feasibility of all the nomination branches and programs to implement and make full use of the Federal Tribal Access Program, National Crime Information Center database, and all necessary computer software, especially with respect to the sharing of databases related to the missing and murdered and Indigenous women and convicted sexual offenders. Regarding this task, the Department of Public Safety Director shall present a verbal and written report to the Law and Order Committee and to the Budget and Finance Committee by the end of second quarter of FY 2023. And that is the presentation today, colleagues. Do you have a motion to accept the report? Vice Chair Slater, motion to accept today's report. Do we have a second? Speaker Damon seconds the motion. Colleagues, do we have any questions in regards to the COA, the Division of Public Safety, or the presentation for us? Delegate Gay.
Notice that this is going back as far as 1972. What happens to the earlier cases like?
So we have Navajo Police, Chief Noon has a dedicated team. They're called the Patrol Detective Team. So there's 5 of them right now that are overseeing the 7 districts. So they're still looking into those cases. As you can tell, regarding Renzita Monroe, she was missing since 1999. And the detective went and found her through the SIDS program. There was the NAMUS with Justine Lester. So we're finding a lot going through basic DNA, and that's what we're looking at to helping the families to retrieve DNA, because we do have a lot of identified bodies out there as well that don't have a name to these individual bodies. So that's why we're collecting DNA from families as well, especially if they went missing for quite a while. And some of the law enforcement officers or law enforcement agencies do not have that.
Thank you. I know we also have Deputy Silversmith on the call too. If you want to ask for the Delegate Gay.
Then the other question that I know that there are a couple of people from Elmo that were missing, and they tried going to the for some reason the application doesn't even care about the 3 satellite thing. Always. Hopefully we'll have 2 cops down there now. But they try to work with the FBI, but the FBI just turn them back and tell them you've got to work with the BIA, you know, report it to BIA, and then as usual, the turtle comes into gear, right?
Yeah.
You have to work with the 638 contract cops, which these guys are not only cops or 638 contract with them, and also I should tell you, how can you guys help us in the 3 satellite? No, I mean, I know I put money into it, budget, to hoping that we can get some help out there, you know. So,
Thank you. I'll turn it over to Executive Director Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Begay. I appreciate the question, and what I would like to do is ask Deputy Chief Ronald Silversmith to address that, because it is an area of concern that we have discussed on a few occasions about how we're trying to address those concerns, not only in the areas that you speak of, but across the board. We're dealing with a manpower shortage, but if you would, if you'll allow Deputy Chief Ronald Silversmith to assist us in answering that question for our delegate brigade. Thank you.
You, Deputy Silversmith, are you on the call?
Yes, I am Shinantai.
Okay, and did you catch Delegate Gay's question?
Yes, I did.
Floor is yours.
Yate, Shinatani do. Chikedos neda is not in she dos oji dos labnantai. Igato das a thousand on the my dish in slow. Kia ani bashes chindo, Todich ignidas chido, as a sandational. I mentioned the night deck hidiki nile acho the ne Bikea, Hanada has so Ajatraji Leto Alamo, Nenigi Quage Quage such a Bahuint Edo, Halit out, Lao Aj Shando, Nihat no Nabikia de Kin Hido and Hinle Salo and has Hanigi. So ya Halit added that store it out peso pacho after do kaigis law bahan baanato listo halit ad slav nan taisa setado de no kaige panahat out shikedos na she belgana ketcho ya some talk about perhaps even creating District 8 because we have met with BIA do Aja Washington Bisala Kunde Adi Basic and Dehi Aja does on under the dot no Joe you seen late later na Ocean which Kundo Nina and here do be gata here I seen his lot and got the Nobina on he not this is unhit other but I think that no. But not go yeah. I think right now we have 1 sergeant and 4 officers that are assigned out of prom district. Banana shadish to acquisition prom point dot kunt tato aj banana shinde ito ade pushte na ha so hawan tanido you see banana aj what because so as soon as we identify an actual need, Jojo Kaige, the Quila Kutlane Kato, the Quila and Hitnet and Bahaneto, Hadit Laton Choido, Zain Choida, and the Nina Kreda, Kaige, Nishanal, that does it Kaige, but no, the Hatavaya, Bayanda. So we actually have a drug enforcement program that's conducted several operations out there as far as drug interdiction, though, le Magdalena, though, le TRC, quite drugs as a Chwambanda and Negi quite das kaut shanantai ado di the cut quite and hitting but yahagi quite so quite nile Albuquerque PD police department but kitchen days niship quite quite le kinsago quite le homeless population but kadati no the quite but kitchen that she nisto the quishi hitting that bend the house scene quite hatashi the has kinda jo you see that no wadon la hard da control change hard da net la aje ado nanta should no na question I think kido edo alant shanda hotel nata jinin that quite we kind of also always have to satisfy the minds of the family members that are concerned. Quite a bit net do and he bish he can net be used to quite up one each in the net do could not shadow could she could nest do could not shadow the know that I could and his law did and they usually need a whole Navajo police patrol detectives. So law the queen should be get at this new you see and I think you also talked about a case from back in 1972 and a lot of these cold case files that criminal investigations the queen nature and that is so we do have a core case file unit consisting of the Navajo police patrol detective program that looks into a lot of these old cases. Over that you're in the job in the need each of by names that need the hit other ik begin tattoo this nini quite birthmark that nini the she the quite but then she the edit is cousin that go quite it up be it has on quite big be that so le needs a lot the navigate up a lot or other quite that days quite been the hot see quite neat on that so I can he can't let now see that non lay after in general got the and the necessarily his lot and he can't do she can't yo quite a basic case yo which made the husband quite then tado and side that he's all that quite I don't keep up that didn't low some of our people that are addicted to alcohol and substance abuse need a lay Albuquerque Phoenix go on lay no course other than better so lay out the cloud so don't lay out now but Latin lay no constantly job the concerns no adding each and that could have again this card or NCIC any BJ Italia and هذا حتزوده بكل استخاء نودا إنها يخرج جي بجا فنا بجا ندارنا وطلع لا إني شوت دي يسيجي دي شيء دي كواجه نحدنا سلام داش خايدا لني يسي آجه بيس بجا جديد آجه بنيا كواجه دي بيس نسكيس بيبينا النشيجي كواجه جبل كانك إيه software إحنا إيه كواجه بيجي كنت نعيش نهضو كأجي تو ديده دنه داش كاتو له نودا مية كأجي position create that now هتا نحكي out عشان أتاني نفسني جدي يسي سلاد and لينكي يان لي يسي better تهيئ even كأجي the department also went towards trying to recruit either retired officers or to try to bring on civilian investigators. Civilian investigators you see يسيب الناس شديش إنه ليش نوع كأجي بتاع النشاط نكيل سنة ليش تو أدي نايدين كيدو كأجي نكيل أدو كت نهات من بهنا Eastern Navajo either to create another police district or assign a lieutenant out there to work with the council delegates to work on housing and also kindersan handito adibikito the initial they no up in that only and Utah jo abadan that only the chi do the yoki only need a quite naniki a quite new lands nahat at the community of the your kid law on at then could the halit on habita no the artist the question the initial so it niche and anawashna so again he didn't really. Honorable Pierce.
Yeah, thank you, Deputy Silversmith, we were on mute, sorry. Thank you for your presentation, Executive Director Anderson.
Yeah, if it would, with your permission, Madam Chair, and if it would please, Delegate McGay, I believe, Director Henderson had additional to add to, or maybe answer the question that was presented.
Delegate McGay.
When I was in the 23rd Council, we started a program working with the sheriff and the police, state police here. And that program went dead. So on August 1st, 23 this year, we started that program with Alamo again, working cross commission and trying to, but there's a lot of drugs in Alamo, and unfortunately, we know who they are. Everybody knows who they are, but it's just, how do we deal with, a couple of weeks ago, I think you guys probably heard about it, what happened now. There was people, innocent people almost got shot, right? So, because it was drug dealing, we went to the wrong house and two black boys or men, we went into the wrong house and in front of the kids, they were pointing the gun at their parents, And I imagine it was scary, but the CI are involved from the criminal investigation from that nation. But here's the one thing that they always messed up. There was no evidence taken for the right reporting from the Navajo Nation cop. So they let guys, once they booked them in Sephora, they let them out, you see the judge, and they were released through the back door. And then the judge realized he made a mistake, but those guys were wanted in 5 states. So they put a warrant out for them again. It took them about a day and a half. While Elmore was scared, So Elmore had to load their guns up, They were going to kill him, I guess, but, luckily they caught those 2 people again. But they're in state custody now, so, these things that are happening, even like at the state level, So how do we deal with people like that? Just sled them out the next day or just within 30 minutes after they're booked in, It ain't but what I like to do is, I think we're going to have the next meeting in October with the Socorro County Sheriff and a couple of state police, because they participate. We've been really kind of trying to do the cross commission, but it doesn't give them a lot of rights, but it's still a gray area, They can control the public road, but it's just that they can't go off the main road, private. We're trying to get together and see how we can work with them, Fortunately, that's all, the good that comes in, hopefully now that you got 2 officers that are going to be full time on that side, one on each side, that they can respond to the case that is better, It ain't just, just a comment that I'm going to invite you guys to a meeting. I'll let you guys know at least 2 or 3 weeks ahead of time. But I'd like to see you guys participate in that meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate McGay. Person and Anderson, I know you wanted Director Henderson to respond, but I'll turn the time over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just to respond to Delegate McGay's comments there. We are trying to address since I've come into office, I'm putting some new ideas out there for the department to consider, if you will, kind of think out of the box. So I'm trying to juggle these new opportunities. Deputy Chief Silversmith alluded to it, and potentially bringing on retirees, maybe creating a reserve program, maybe utilizing civilian staff to ultimately reduce the burden on regular commission officers. We're running into some obstacles like retirement. Once an employee were to come back, it ultimately could affect the retirement. So we're trying to find out a way. We're trying to work with the DPM to figure out how eventually we can create these other units to assist in some of these areas, as well as, how we can assist to address, the workload of the patrol as well. So we're always open to ideas, and I've asked the chiefs of the different departments to, number one, to start working a lot closer with each other, and secondly, to be open to some new ideas that we're considering. Some may work, some may not work, but at least allow us to give us that opportunity to try to address that. And so hopefully we do remain available again, not only to this committee, but as well as to the potential meeting with, in regards to the cross commissioning. We have about 40 to 44 commission opportunities out there with other agencies that are at different levels. A lot of times in those instances when we're dealing with outside agencies, they're generally there only in the sense of to assist in emergency matters, and we run into those concerns of legalities and liability and such. I know that the Department of Justice has reviewed and continues to review those opportunities for cross commissioning. So if pleases the committee, I'll go ahead and allow, if you'll allow Director Henderson to answer that question. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson, Vice Chair, members of the Budget and Finance Committee, and Delegate Brigade. I just want to add on to Deputy Chief Silversmith's comment. And I know there's some confusion out there between reporting missing individuals to the Navajo Police, to the FBI, to the county, to the Bureau of Indian Affairs, and people pointing fingers at each other. But what I just want to clarify for everybody is that the FBI does not investigate missing persons. They just don't. What they investigate are the crimes, the felony crimes that are involved in that incident of somebody going missing. If that missing person ends up dead, or if there's information, even if there's no body, that person is killed and buried somewhere, if that information is there, then the FBI investigates that murder. They're not necessarily investigating the missing person. They're investigating the crime, what happened, so that they can prosecute it. That's their job. So if you go to an FBI office, one of the residential agencies, and ask about a missing person, they're just going to refer you to tribal police or to the Bureau of Indian Affairs. Unless if you're specific in telling them that, hey, this person is missing, he was declared murdered, then they'll be able to start looking at it and checking into it and see what happened to that case. So that's the first thing. The other thing is that the Bureau of Indian Affairs has their own missing person unit, an MPU. Barry Yoy Homeland. He's the one that's heading that investigation unit from BIA. His unit is covering all the reservations here in this region, to include Navajo. So in their specific investigation is towards missing persons. They don't have to be missing resulting from suspicious circumstance, but they can be just missing. They're the units that are the ones that do all the missing person investigations. It doesn't matter if it involves crime or if it doesn't involve any crime or any suspicious circumstances. Barry's unit is the one that investigates those. And then Barry's unit, the missing person unit from BIA, works with the Navajo Nation, the Navajo Police Department. And They mainly work with the Navajo Police Department, all the districts around Navajo, because they're not restricted to those missing person cases that involve suspicious circumstances. So having that said, the Barry is still in the process of getting it to where his unit, the missing person unit from BIA, is more effective and more efficient than it has been before. They're kind of like in the beginning stages of how they're trying to get these investigations going, especially on Navajo. So the other comment that I just want to make is that the incident out in Alamo and where the drug dealers went to the wrong house and some misunderstanding took place. And however, there again, there was a lot of miscommunication in that case between the Navajo police, the CI, and the county. And there's all these miscommunication. Everybody thought that hey, this case belongs to the county to investigate and to prosecute. However, in that process, things got jumbled up, things weren't passed on, things weren't received, things weren't followed up on, and that created a lot of mess. And I agree, there needs to be a better way, a better system in place so that things like that don't happen. So in addressing that, we from criminal investigations, we had a good meeting with the county and educated them that, hey, you know what, we need to do a better job in communication. Plus, we need to do a better job in educating you on how to respond to Alamo specifically, to handle those kinds of situations. So I hope that kind of answers some of the questions that you asked about. And going forward, we do have the best of intent to work better at it, to work better together as agencies, counties, federal, state, tribals. We have the best interests of the people in mind. So I know the occurrence is that hey, we're forgotten. We're left out of the process. We're left out of the loop, and I can understand that. But we are, I assure you, you are addressing it to make it better, to make things better for Alamo and other satellite communities like you mentioned. So thank you, Chair, Vice Chair, and members of the Budget and Finance Committee.
Madam Chair, if I may. One of the things that I'm glad that you brought it up, Mr. Begay, is collaboration and communication is what pretty much we're lacking. Me getting into this MMIP position and going to all these other meetings, and a lot of these, the public is frustrated with the lack of communication that law enforcement is seeing. And one of the things that the missing person unit has been doing is collaboration meetings, also including the criminal investigations perspective. Is we had about 3 to 4 meetings already with collaboration meetings with the Mexico side that border the Navajo Nation, and we would love to have Sandoval County be a part of that, as well as I believe Socorro and the U.S. Marshal and the Marshal still work down there as well. So next week we're going to be working with the Arizona side of the Navajo Nation. So it's not just going to include federal, state, and county, but it's also going to include other tribal law enforcement agencies there, because I do believe that we are learning a lot more, gathering a lot more resources to help us with these missing person cases, and not just missing person cases, but just to help each other in general. So it's been going really good. Thank you.
Thank you. Many members, do you have any other questions on the report today? Vice Chair Slater?
Thank you for the report and thank you for what you're doing in compliance with COA. The second part of the COA, regards the, sex offenders listing. And that hasn't been reported on, I think, in this list thus far, so I was wondering if you could touch on that. And second, I'm going to answer this part first. This is data on reported missing persons, and you anecdotally provide some information on recovery or identification. You know, what I'd like to see is, do you have data on how complying with the COA has impacted the delivery of services and responsiveness? Do you have anything there that will help us after comprehend like what changes really happened, aside from just, okay, we got a better documentation and reporting in there. You know, if you have year-over-year increases in the number of identified persons, you know, or expediting the time for identifying persons, things like that. You know, what sort of data is that? Performance, not just uploading stuff into a system. So that's the question. There are two questions.
Turn the time over to the division director.
Thank you, Chair and Vice Chair, to your question. What I would offer is that Rosita had presented, you had on the back of the one sheet, there's the 2-year comparison as to where we're at. Yes, sir. So it shows some data as to how it's been conducted, at least in the last 2 years, comparative. So that's what I would offer. We potentially could add more years and make more presentations if we have that data. I'd have to check with Rosita here. So I'll turn it over to Rosita. Maybe she can answer that more appropriately. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Slayer, with the data that was presumed before, the thing is that nobody actually looked over the entire district's data. So it was, every district has their own ORI. So Crown Point has their own ORI, Shiprock has their own ORI. I don't know who did that. So all the districts have their own ORI. So they used to keep their own missing persons. But now, since the missing person group came on, they started overseeing everybody's data and making sure that everybody knows what is what in what district. So when I say notifications that are being sent from districts, we look it up. So I actually have access to NCIC, and I can look it up on my side, or I can look it up on the CODI, our CAD, our computer aid system. So I can verify that any information that is missing that we can give to the PIO, or any other information that is needed, then I can give it to them. So I can draft up data for you, and I have been looking up as you wanted to know what's the difference. Well, as you can see on the scale in the back, 2023, we didn't have nobody was really wanting to look into NCIC. So one of the things that we have seen change drastically is locate. So when you see locate, it's another police department finding that missing person. And can you imagine, one of our missing persons was found in Chicago. That is pretty far. And then we have another person that was found not even within the Navajo Nation. They're found all over the state. And we actually dealing with the cleared is from the Navajo police. When they actually find that person, that's how we clear them. And those are the difference from those words. If they're found deceased, then it's from us. So any reports that is coming in from law enforcement, we collect it and we save it, and the districts have to keep that, and that's a part of the COA, as you guys indicated, for the BCI and NCIC agreement that we have with Utah. So we have to make sure that those those documents are up to date for that.
Vice Chair Slater, do you have any follow-up questions?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Do you think, that's an example right there, clear the deceased and located, would it be possible to put together a little more of a substantial written report with that sort of information,
Yes,
and those sorts of things? I guess I would think maybe middle of the second quarter or beginning of the second quarter would be helpful. And I think the thing to me is the more data on the characterizations, like, okay, is this suspected human trafficking? Is this one of our citizens who freely, traveled to Chicago? And because of whatever reason the situation arose. I think that is something I'm trying to wrap my head around because there's just so much anecdotal information, and to refine that sort of information, I think Delegate Prodi, was able to help shepherd in this $1 million into NTU, and I really hope the president will support that and not line item veto it, and I hope that the Division of Public Safety supports that investment with the MMDR and with my relatives working to develop that data institute. So that's one point I'd like to make. You can allow the president when that budget, when the budget legislation goes across the street to ensure that that moves forward. We just had policymakers to think about that. A lot of our citizens are economically vulnerable, so they end up in border towns traveling for economic security. And, the more data we have, whether it's human trafficking or originating on the reservation, whether it's a relationship with drugs or alcohol, anything that can help us refine what sort of things we can do and control within the borders of the U.S. as opposed to what we need to coordinate off reservation would be helpful. And maybe offline, we can talk more about the information I'm seeking. I have a lot more information I'd like to ask related to their police reports, and I'll ask that offline. We won't sidetrack on this, but I'll be back in touch and ask about how that is going. So thank you. No further questions, just a request. And that's, I'd say, an informal request for information, not going back. So.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Committee members, do we have any questions on the reports?
Sure.
Second call for questions. Third call. Hearing none, Ms. Nelson, could we do the roll call vote? Just start on this, do I?
Yes, Madam Chair, roll call vote, I'm accepting the report. Honorable Norman and Gay, how do you vote?
Great.
Thank you, Honorable Norman and Gay with green, Honorable St. David, how do you vote? Thank you, Honorable St. David with green, Honorable Carl Slater, how do you vote?
Green.
Thank you, Honorable Carl Slater with green, Madam Chair, we have 3 members voting in the affirmative, they're opposing to them excused. Madam Chair, not voting, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Nelson. Thank you, Director and Director of Criminal Investigations, and sorry, I didn't have your last name.
Billy.
Billy, okay, I have your first name. I'm like, don't make that your topic and probably. Thank you for your report today. And we look forward to continuing to work with you throughout the next year. With that, they do voted on the report. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have, before I recognize the motion, our next budget and finance meeting will be September 19th, 2023.
That's a good one.
Are you doing it possible? All right, I'm gonna recognize Delegate Slater and Vice Chair Slater's motion to adjourn. Do you have a second?
Well, yes.
Speaker David, second the motion to adjourn for today's budget and finance committee. Delegate Gay, do you have any questions on motion to adjourn? Hearing none, there's nothing, and we will follow you adjourn.
Yes, Madam Chair, roll call vote on the adjournment, Honorable Norman and Gay, the vote.
Green.
Thank you, Honorable Norman and Gay with green, Honorable St. David, how do you vote? Thank you, Honorable St. David with green, Honorable Carl Slater, how do you vote? Thank you, Honorable Carl Slater with green, Madam Chair, I have 3 members voting in the affirmative, they're opposing. 2 members excused, Madam Chair, not voting, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay. And thank you everyone for joining us today. See you on September 19th.
So
Budget finance review.
I'll let you.
We are.